Unfortunately, I will not return some of the compliments that was nicely given by Ashish. He's clearly not in marketing. You don't build up the speaker, right? Because it makes things very difficult for the speaker. But nevertheless, he was nice. Or maybe this is his way to set me up here. We'll figure out as we get along, right? So, okay, let's get started. The other thing that, am I going in and out or is it just me? Mic is all right? Okay, I should stop moving, I think. So Ashish also asked 3 of the questions I was going to ask. So I think I'll have to ask newer questions now, right? So just to make sure that, usually I'm called to speak. I think the last time what Ashish didn't share with you was he picked a Saturday afternoon, which means that's probably the worst of all times. People have just had lunch, they're getting ready to go out the room, and he wants me to come speak. So this time I think he tried to have his little thing. He said, okay, you'll go first. And he called me yesterday to go first today. So work with me here. We'll take it up from there, all right? How many people are below the age 30 in this room? Christ, that's a lot of people. Huh? I noticed you didn't pick up your hand there, Dhruv. All right. Oh, can we see that again, if you don't mind? So let's see if anyone's aged since the last time I asked the question. Okay, so most of the people are below the age, right? Okay. So one of the things is, what I wanted to really do today is, the trouble with all these events is, I speak last year, when I speak the first time, I look like a smart guy because I can say a lot of things nobody can figure out, was I right or, and then if you have to appear a year again, everybody wonders what the hell you've done in that year. I mean, so it's been good for me to figure out what the hell I've done in that year. So what I really want to do is really talk about businesses, as in not startups. I mean, I think we get confused about that, so I'll touch about that. So just in case you wondered early in the morning, right? So to me, I think you will figure out, I mean, how many of you are running businesses? I think a fair amount of people, right? So in case you haven't encountered the gargoyles, you will encounter them. You'll certainly encounter devils as well. Of course, you and I are the angels, right? I mean, we can't go wrong, right? So anyway, I think what I will not do, startups are hard. I think in case anyone didn't figure that out, or anyone thought startups were easy, startups are not easy, they are hard, okay? But if you thought startups are hard, I can tell you, losing weight is even harder, okay? And of course, starting up sometimes is a good way to lose weight, at least it seems. But the funny thing is, the more stress you have, the more weight you put on, okay? So I can tell you from last year to now, I have actually gained some weight. I have not lost any weight, and not for want of trying, right? So I think, but you know what? The answer is very, very simple, right? Both for startups as well as for losing weight, the answer is very simple. So I'm not going to touch upon either of these, right? Just eat less, exercise more. I mean, that's how you lose weight. Any doubts on this? No doubts. Okay, that's good, right? But the devil is in the details, okay? The issue is not eating less or exercising more. The issue is doing it day after day, do it at the level of detail that you need to do it. By the way, for those of you who are like me, who are looking to do it, this is a good resource, okay? So this, you don't have to think they've got it for 8 weeks, so you just brain dead, you follow it. Unfortunately, there isn't an equivalent for startups, okay? Which is, the simple part is very, very easy, right? Build a product or service. Actually, better yet, get a customer first, then build a product or service. But if you want to do it the other way, build a product or service, get a customer, and then repeat the darn thing, right? So this is the equivalent of eat less, exercise. I think eat less, exercise more. Yeah, okay. Not exercise less, eat more. Okay, sometimes we get confused. And I think that happens when you run companies as well, right? Which is, you sometimes build more product and have less customers. I think it's better to have more customers and fewer products. But again, the devil is in the details for running business. So what I'm not going to do, I'll tell you right away, is I'm not going to get into these details, right? How do you get a product idea? What do you do with a product idea? How do you sell the product, etc. How many people are working in Web 2.0? Not that many, huh? Oh, a few. I think we should feed you guys before we bring you here so you can raise your hands. Come on, let's see some hands, right? And how many are doing non-web? Either non-web, let's start there. So there are a few people doing, what sorts of things are you guys doing? Learning solutions. But that's not I receive over the web. It's you come to my school and you sell it to me, or as a parent I buy it, right? So I'm sure, I mean, or if people are manufacturing things or what have you, there will be a list like this of what to do, right? So if I told you, I got up here and I told you, I know, here's what you need to do, much like that exercise, that wouldn't be right, right? So it's not just exercise I'm bad at some other things as well, right? But the thing is, for both of these, what you need to do is simple. The hard part is doing it day after day after day, right? And of course, in all of these, again, most of you are young, so this still applies to you, right? You still need to have a life. That may be not needed given the number of people in their 20s here, but sooner or later, life is going to catch up. I'm sure even now you'll have to call mom, right? Or inevitably, I know some people who shall remain unnamed towards the end who still need to get married and stuff like that. So how many of you are married? Geez, a lot of married entrepreneurs, okay. All right, that's a good news, right? So the challenge here is, what is it that I want to share with you, right? Having come here is, I mean, I call myself entrepreneur, writer, father, and you know what? Each of that actually helps. I think being a father, I mean, I'm not saying run out and have kids. I mean, get married first, but still, the point is, right? There's a lot you'll learn from your kids, just as you'll find out there's a lot you'll learn from your employees and from these, other devils and gargoyles, if you will, right? I just want to take a moment, really, is one of the advantages. How many people are over 40 here? Okay, there are a few of us. All right, okay, great. I don't feel so lonely. Is, just the fact that you put in time. I mean, life is a very good teacher. You learn a bunch of things, right? But the reality is when you do a startup, so I've done another startup about 2 years ago. Reality is none of that matters. So on one hand, while you learn a whole boatload of stuff doing your stuff, there's a whole lot you need to learn. So what really matters is what have you done lately? I mean, that, fine print matters. At the end of the day, nobody, especially for yourself and certainly for your spouse, it don't matter what you've done unless what you've done lately, right? So over the last 2 years, I've been trying, the emphasis being trying to build a SaaS business in the domain of marketing automation. So we actually have a site up. We actually have code that works and stuff that we don't have customers yet. I mean, it'd be nice if we had customers. We don't have customers yet. Also, we launched a Q&A service, which is over a mobile phone. There was some good. So if you look at it, the marketing automation was a B2B service. The Q&A service is a B2C service. And we have sucked at both. I mean, if you put mildly, we've been good in building product, but we haven't necessarily made a lot of money yet, right? But the other side of it is I've done a fair amount of angel investment in the same period, right? And one of the joys of working with other entrepreneurs, if you will, other founders, is of course they make all the mistakes you made and they make some new ones. And sometimes they make you look smart, sometimes make you look really dumb. So what I really want to do is share the lessons that I've learned, both in the business that we built over the last 2 years, or the business we are continuing to build, if you will, and the businesses that I'm engaged with. That's really what I'm going to talk about, right? So before I talk about this, I think, these are the questions that I was going to ask. Looks like a fair amount of people. How many people are looking for jobs in startups? Nobody. Grab that guy in the red shirt. Is that red? Okay. Looks like, oh, there's another gentleman in the back. So everyone here wants to start their own. Either they started their own or they're looking to start their own, right? So we should find people outside this room that we can hire, or these two gentlemen here, looks like, right? Okay, come talk to me, okay? I know all the companies that I know are trying to hire, and we are trying to hire as well, right? How many people are here who aren't sure why they are here? Or they thought it's a good idea on a Saturday morning. Oh, there's a few guys here. Okay. See, there are only 2, 3 honest guys in the whole building, I think. Okay, all right. So what I wanted to do was really take a moment here. Again, the thing is, these are some of the companies I'm involved in. Inevitably, there is not some method to the madness. As an angel, what you try to do is you look at the founders. But that's about it, I think, because I can't, looking back, otherwise it's very hard for me to figure out where we put money. But what is interesting, and I think the reason you should pay attention, is these are very, very different businesses, right? There's a bunch of guys working in online video, guys working in the real world selling tickets and performance. There's a set of guys who are in the room here, trying to bring publishers onto mobile platform. What we've been trying to do ourselves, and a couple of people building real world things in terms of power electronics for solar as well as these last two companies, I'm only involved as an advisor. I haven't put my money. The others I have stake in one fashion or the other, right? So essentially the lessons that I've learned from these companies is what I'm going to be sharing with you. I shall of course not name names in terms of what is it that we've done, okay? So sum and substance, I mean, if you had to walk out or use the restroom right now, this is the substance of what I want to really talk about today, right? I think all the mechanics of finding customers, raising funds, there's a lot of good resources out there. People have done it. They're probably better at it than I am. So those are resources that are available to you out there, right? But what you really need to focus on is these 5 points as far as I'm concerned, okay? And what I'll do is I'll dive right into it and take it from there. First, again, I keep telling software engineers I work with, reuse, so I ended up reusing this foil from my last presentation, at least the picture I did. I think the real key, and I think especially for those who are already in business and those who are thinking of doing business, is fundamentally ask yourself, why am I doing this? Right? And that's worthwhile. I'm not saying every morning you get up and ask, why am I doing this? Then you never make any progress, right? But once a quarter it's worthwhile, or every time you and your partner don't seem to agree, you better ask, why are you doing this, right? Because whenever I see people come and talk to me, they're trying to raise money, I try to ask them, right? The funny thing is, especially if people are in a fundraising mode, these are smart people who started companies. So they're all thinking what questions are likely to come up and how do we answer those, right? I think it's far more important to answer these questions for yourself than trying to answer it for the angel or the VC, okay? And that fundamentally is, why am I doing this? Because, and let me give you the bad news, guys. Look, unless you're prepared to bust your ass for 5 to 7 years and possibly lose your business at the end of it, you shouldn't do it. This just doesn't make logical sense otherwise. If you're telling yourself any other answer, you're fooling yourself. I'm not saying that means all of us will be, that's not what I'm saying. And maybe in 2 years, you'll flip it and make $50 million. Right? So if so, I want to invest in your company. But the point is, you better do it because you want to be doing it. That is very, very important. And that is something that you yourself will never be certain. Right? I can tell you that many nights I've been up at 3 a.m. wondering, what the hell am I doing? Right? Why am I doing this? So you need to stick it out. And that is the horizon you need to plan for. I mean, I can certainly tell you in some business I've been involved in the last 2 years. To give you an example, my partners and I have worked with each other for 10 years. Right? And we've been through one startup with no salary for 3 or 4 years. Done every possible mistake, and we had an all-cash exit. So you would think we know each other, right? I mean, we were at each other's weddings, children, appendicitis, you name it. And we do that today. Yet, when the 3 of us come together for business, unless we explicitly say it, so someone is thinking, okay, in 3 years, we'll be actually able to pay ourselves. And I've assumed, we won't be able to pay ourselves into the future, right? So it is very, very important to ask yourself, what is it I'm trying to do? So again, I think Web 2.0 in some senses is good news, bad news, right? I mean, pretty much on a weekend we can hack something together. We put that service together within 3 weeks. I think Dhruv and I talked about it one day, and 3 weeks later the service was online, right? And it was real. I mean, it was us answering questions and things like that, but it was real, it was launched. We hadn't written much code, right? So the thing is, you can get started in no time. But why the hell are you doing it? I mean, if you're doing it for the weekend, that's great. Right? If it's a fun, if it's a hack, it's great. But this is very, very important to ask yourself, right? And I think Ashish touched upon it, right? Ashish punchline is, if we are trying to do a business, of course, what that means for each of us can be very, very different. So that is very important. So if your partner is thinking you're having a lifestyle business and you're thinking you're building the next Google, you got trouble right there. And the problem is, these things are, again, most of us, again, how many businesses here transact within the company in non-English? Almost none. Yeah? So that's the problem, right? We all speak English, we think we understand each other. Most of the time we don't. So I think right after this meeting in the break, take your partners aside and say, why the hell are we in business? Of course, you may find out he doesn't think we are in business, okay? So that's very, very important, right? So get aligned on what you're trying to do. Again, one day my partners took me aside, and took them 10 years. They said, do you have a problem raising money? I was like, huh? We get the feeling you don't want to raise money, right? And this is after we run 2 businesses together. So even again, I saw a fair amount of you are married, so I'm sure you encountered this at home. I mean, running a business is not that different in that. So make sure, so ask yourself these questions. By the way, I'm not saying, get up every Saturday morning, look at your navel and what the hell am I doing? Right? Then you got bigger problems. Huh? Of course, you have to lose weight before you can look at your navel, by the way. Huh? Note to self, lose weight, yeah. So this is very, very important, right? I mean, to me, this is the most important thing. Because it can undermine everything else you're doing, right? So always somebody stops and we talk about an elevator pitch, you can immediately say, hey, I run this business which does this. Why are you doing it? We better know it. And I'm talking at a very personal level, right? I'm not talking about what you tell somebody else. It's, why am I going in on a Sunday afternoon to fix something? You better have a good answer for it, right? Get good partners. I mean, how many people have 2 or more partners in their business? Okay, maybe better question, how many are one-person businesses? You should get a partner, sir. Huh? Oh, that can happen too, right? So go back, refer to file 1, okay? You want to share with us what happened?
No, actually, me and my brother were running a gaming parlor.
Okay.
So he was a partner, helped me.
Right. Then you got married.
No, he got a job.
Okay. Damn brothers, Okay. I'm just kidding. Okay. He looks like he may have some friends otherwise, huh? So I think this is again very important. This ties into the first one, right? I mean, this is, again, maybe I'm just thinking as I'm talking to you, this applies to marriage as well, right? I mean, so fundamentally be clear why you get married or what you're looking for. Be prepared to discuss. Don't think because both of you speak English, you actually understand each other, right? And again, the most important thing with partners, right? Again, with my partners that I saw and I see with other teams, is inevitably you're going to lose partners along the way, right? I mean, don't try to push them out the door, but inevitably you're going to lose partners along the way, and that'll tell you as much about yourself as the next person. So it's very, very important. I mean, so if there are 3 marketeers in the room, you have trouble. If you got 3 coders in the room, you got trouble. You got somebody who's not a channel guy, but you name it, right? So I think it's very important to go out there and do it. Again, these are not things that, you over-rationalize at the beginning, but at some point or the other, you better think about it, right? Because there are going to be days when you wonder, why am I doing this? You need someone to pull you along, to say, hey, let's do it, right? The other part is you need people who are going to keep you honest. That is the most important thing. People who are going to have a fight with you, say, why are you doing this? That doesn't make any sense, right? I mean, I'll share first-hand experience. I've been married almost 20 years. Recently, I lost my father. So when you go through this whole lot of religious issues, then suddenly along the way, my wife says, wait a second, I didn't see you really as a religious guy, and suddenly you're doing this, which is something that who hasn't been with you for a while will not be able to ask you, or they'll feel, oh, maybe this is a particularly insensitive question to ask at this stage, or what have you. But the reality is we all need, because we are not consistent, we change. We need someone in your business to be able to do that, right? And most importantly, someone who has your same values, right? Because the easiest way to make money is to sell drugs, I think, okay? I haven't tried it yet, but at least it appears that way, right? That and printing notes, right? So the thing is, you want to make sure that the set of people you're working with have very similar beliefs to your own, right? So these are 2 very important things before you get started. By the way, after you get started also, these are very important things, right? And at least once a year, it's worthwhile to sit down, if you have a board of advisors or what have you, to talk with them, right? One of the interesting things, again, if I had not run a business in India, I would never thought of it is, see, much of my adult career I worked overseas. Then I actually now run 2 businesses in India. In India, it's actually interesting to have an older person on the team. What I mean by older person is, I mean, the bad part is you may be excessively deferential. The good part is the person can then call it as it is. And you don't all feel like, oh my God, I'm going to be crushed by this person saying it, because you expect these old guys, they're going to say stuff like this, So I think this is the hardest, again, this like eat less, work hard, or eat less, exercise more. I even forgot the simple stuff. This is really the hard part. I mean, this is what I see with businesses. That is, either you get off to a great start, you open the door, people are walking in, and you're, holy cow, I hit on something here. So, and the thing about complacency, it's like that frog in the hot water, right? I mean, complacency doesn't announce it's arrived, right? So you're talking about what a great culture you have in a company, what great customers you have, what great product you have. Suddenly you're not growing. But it never is suddenly. I mean, you stop growing at some point, it didn't happen suddenly, right? So complacency is a big thing. staying focused, right? I mean, this is very, very hard. The most common, again, if you look at all the startups that I see, the problem with startups is usually very smart people start up startups. And the problem with smart people is they can justify nearly anything. So the best value that I find I add to the companies that I invested in is I'm not there most of the time. So when I come in 2 months later and we say, hey, what's going on? Suddenly we're building 2 more products. Right? And you were saying, why are we building 4 products? We haven't shipped number 1 yet. Or we haven't made money on number 1. We've shipped number 1, we haven't made money on. Then there's a very good reason. I mean, sometimes very concisely they can say why we need to build these 4 products and it needs to be on the Android platform or whatever the hell it needs to, right? But it's still 4 products. So staying focused, if you're smart people and especially if you're capable of writing code yourself, then it's a very, very risky thing, right? Either you're adding features or you're, so I think the important thing is, get out of the building every day, try to see how can I get a customer to write a check or depending on your business, give you cash, right? So I think that sort of focus is very, very important. And I can tell you firsthand, I mean, it may sound like bullshit, I mean, but the point is, even though you're a business, you lose sight of it very easily. And the bigger the business you are, the easier it is to lose sight of it. Hopefully, if you're small and hopefully you haven't raised money, then it sort of focuses your mind because you need to pay a few people, right? Even if you're not paying yourself, you need to pay a few people. So it's very, very important to stay focused. The other thing, again, this is a challenge for which there is no clear, nice answer, right? What do I measure in my business? See, for me, I can tell you, some of the businesses that come up to me that I would like to get involved, I love the people, but I just don't understand their business, right? 2 companies I'm involved in, both are going to make money from advertising, and I just don't believe it. Or I have a hard time, or maybe I'm not smart enough to understand why we'll make money in advertising. Of course, then everyone tells me Google makes money at it. And Google is the only person I think I know who makes money at it. Okay? And maybe the guys who do billboards and stuff. Maybe you can tell us later, Dhruv, who makes money at it, right? So the challenge is, what do you measure then? Do you measure then visitors? Do you measure clicks? Do you measure, I mean, the only thing I like to measure is money. So, then we better get the advertisers in, they better be paying. Again, I give advertising, I'm not picking on guys who do an advertising model, right? How many people are doing something that's advertiser based? Raise your hand proudly. Huh? I'm not seeing you raise your hand there, Sharath. There you go, okay, right? So it's, again, you don't need me to tell you that is hard, but it's very easy to lose sight. So what do we measure? And finally, I keep coming back, which is, you start with what business. I think any business that told you, hey, I had an idea, I started and that's it. You just hit it off. They're just plain lying, I think, for most part. Or they're plain lucky, right? So you end up changing your business model. You thought advertisers are going to pay for it, maybe customers are going to pay for it, maybe people are going to prepay, maybe you're going to do cash on delivery. So be prepared to revisit all of that, right? That's very, very critical. Again, it all comes down to, look, how is money going to make it from the other guy's hands or other girl's hands into your pockets, right? I think that's what building a business is about. And for that, we need to and again, I'm saying from first-hand experience. So the fact that you had 1 or 2 successes doesn't mean, again, it's very easy for me, you need not look beyond my waist, to know it's very easy to know what to do, but to do it consistently is very difficult. So that's what I think you should worry less about how the hell do I get this done, and more about, am I doing this consistently on a systemic and daily basis? That's really the key thing that you need to really focus on, okay? Okay, this is the part where I get to be a little bit harsh, if you want to call it that, right? I mean, I've been in enough meetings with enough companies where the feeling, and this is strongly felt, feeling, if only we had more money. How many people feel that? If they only had more money, they'd take their business someplace else, right? Oh, come on! Mayank raised his hand, right? So this is just plain not right, guys. Okay, if only you had more money, you'll spend it even faster, right? By the way, I'm not saying money is not needed. Money is needed for business, but the reality is you need less money than you think. At one level, at a given situation, you always need more money, right? That's the other side of this, which is, I'm involved with a couple of companies where we raised money. We thought, okay, it'll go for a year. First year, we were saying, hey, maybe we need more. Of course, it went in 6 months and you still aren't there yet. And you need even more money, right? So you're going to need money. I think, who is not having hiring problems? Who is not having hiring problems? Hey, meet this gentleman, find out what he's doing. Because everybody else I talk to, right, especially in startups, are saying they're in a hard time. Huh? Maybe you should share with us. You aren't hiring or? Exactly. See? That's why you don't need as much money to pay those guys. Right? No, again, it's very important. Right? So hiring is going to be harder than you reckon. If you think it's hard now, it's only going to get harder. Okay? And it will take longer than you reckon. Which is, everybody says, oh, we closed a deal. The reality is, I always ask them, is the money in your bank? So there's a big difference between, and whether this is true, whether it's for customers or for VCs, certainly, or angels, right? So it's tough. And I again repeat, money is rarely the answer, okay? Again, all of us fall into this trap. I mean, starting with myself, that if we had more money, we could buy more AdWords, or we could hire a couple of sales guys, or whatever it is. But ask yourself, is there something else that you can do, right? But keep your powder dry. I mean, so if you can raise money, raise it. But money suddenly is not going to solve the problem. Money will create its own set of problems. Because at least certainly my experience is, money gets spent. I mean, our previous chairman used to say, your spending is always on plan. It's the revenue that's rarely on plan, okay? So this is a useful thing to remember when you do your own business, right? Again, I touched upon this earlier, but if I distill this down, right, I'm highly biased, okay? And I can speak to this authoritatively because I have sucked at it as well, right? Which is, keep your eye on the customer. Customer, not a user, right? To me, customer is someone who's parting with money to help your business grow. I think that is very, very important. I mean, to me, that is the epitome of focus and execution, which means, is everything that I'm doing helping me achieve that, right? And again, you'd be surprised how easy it is to lose sight of this, right? I mean, I love, after spending 2 years and not making money, still I find myself, maybe we should tweak this feature, right? So the focus needs to be external. And that's very, very hard. I mean, the larger the organization, the harder it is. But you'll still be surprised if it's 3 of us and we've got an idea and we're working in a room. You can very easily be internally focused, right? Because there's always 10 other things that need to get done. So that is very, very important, right? And I think at least the people that have been successful that I see, I mean, whether it was us in the past or people I see being successful now, is ship the darn thing, right? If it sucks, people will tell you, right? If you're lucky, they'll actually tell you. If you're not lucky, they'll just not buy it. But pretty much if they're not buying it, something sucks. But there's no amount of stuff doing in the lab that's going to work for you. So ship the darn thing, right? So I think sticking to schedules, and if the schedule's going to slip, take out shit. It's that simple. Again, see, unfortunately with software, it's so much easy, quote unquote, to put more stuff in. But even with real world products, get it out there. I mean, yesterday, my partner called me up and said, these guys raised $5 million. They have a total of 6 belts and 8 shirts on their website, right? So obviously, I think they have more than that. But the point is, get the darn thing out there. If no one's buying it, you'll figure it out. Then you can fix it, take it from there. I think that is very, very important. And repeatedly, not just, and we have done this. And I see people that companies I'm involved in do this all the time. We lose sight of the fact that we need to be focused on that customer. I mean, this doesn't mean doing everything the customer says, but recognizing that the focus needs to be outside the business and not in the business, right? See, guaranteed your own business is not the only one that is struggling or is ugly. Everyone's business is ugly once you get in, right? So focus on the customer, focus on the schedule. The other thing, again, this is quite a common mistake, is we go one way or the other. Either we are Hitlers and we are proprietors and we beat the crap out of everybody who works for us, or we say, and this I see more of now, somehow it has become more fashionable that, oh, we are running an egalitarian outfit, or everybody is equal, or we are creating a classless society, I don't know what it is. We're doing stuff like this. But you're still a business, right? So this was one of the key mistakes. It took us a year to figure out, oh, we are running actually Italian club. We'd all get together, have lunch, have a good time. It's great, right? But then we are not a business. So I think it's, and also we ruin people when we are not demanding of them. So it's very important, right? Be nice. I mean, I think everything your mom told you is nice. Be polite, say thank you, please, stand up, open doors, stuff like that. But focus on execution, right? I mean, do you deliver? Is, yes, it's your brother, maybe you love him. You can love him outside the business. If he doesn't execute, he shouldn't be there, right? And question your assumptions at least quarterly, right? This is the other thing, because we all get committed. I already put a boatload of money into this, and I ran in a certain direction. So one, I could be either, again, I've seen both ends, right? If you're such a doubting Thomas that every day you're wondering like, holy cow, am I doing the right thing? you shouldn't be in business, get a job. On the other hand, for a year you say, hey, whatever, I'm right and everybody else is an idiot, then that's another way to trip up. So, is it monthly, is it quarterly, who the hell knows? But at least twice a year you start with it, maybe more often, question your assumptions, right? Again, I had an interesting discussion earlier this week with a team of people. They're saying, how do we grow our business? We need to acquire customers at minimum cost. And nobody has an answer. There can be A, B, or C. The only way you're going to know it is we believe A will work, let's go after A. But what do I measure in A and is it working? If it's not working, give up whatever emotional commitment I have in it and get back. So that's very, very important. That is, see, this is all matters at the end of the day. I mean, having great guys, having capital, having the greatest idea of product doesn't matter if you don't execute. Right? And you go out there and you see people who are executing and doing stuff well, you can find a million things that's wrong. Right? I mean, when I look at Redbus in the early days, I mean, their website wasn't necessarily the best, but they got the job done. Flipkart, you name it, right? I mean, all the people that we talk about, they did something, they focused ceaselessly. This is very, very important. And this again is very easy to lose sight of. Okay? Again, if you don't believe it, just come talk to me afterwards. I can tell you how many ways you can screw it up. Okay? I think, if there's one foil you pay attention to, it should be this. Sneaky, that's why I put it towards the end here, right? Don't do the following, right? Don't spend all your time wondering why the hell these other guys raised this much money or how the hell they raised this money. It's completely irrelevant. This is like asking, why did that guy marry Aishwarya Rai or why did this guy get this role? Does it really matter? No, it's not going to change your business. So quit wondering how those guys raised 4 million, 1 million, half million, whatever it is, right? That's another way of saying quit reading TechCrunch and VC Circle. Focus on your business, right? Don't avoid confrontations in your business. This is very, very important. I mean, if everybody's fighting every day, you got another problem. But everybody's very nice, you probably got an even bigger problem, right? So this is, you have to learn. And if you're in a leadership role, you have to teach. So to teach, you have to learn first, right? Again, the surest way is get married. Your spouse will tell you whether you're good at this or not, right? So, okay, I wasn't joking there, huh? Again, build only one product at a time, guys. I mean, how many people think they're building only one product? How many people know they're building more than one product? Right? Quit doing that, right? And question that assumption whether you're really building only one product. I think it's very, very important, right? Because, and especially in the Web 2.0 world, especially in the software world, where there's, the guys doing power electronics, they can't build a second product because they have to spend real money to buy real stuff. And they need real bench space, right? So be very, very careful. I mean, do it, but when you're doing it, be aware you're doing it. And then again, question why are we doing it? There better be a darn good reason why you're doing it, right? And I already mentioned this, don't take your eye off the ball. That is all matters, right? And this you can do only on a Monday or a Wednesday or a Friday. Once a week even is fine enough. It's very hard to not take your eye off the ball on a given day, right? Otherwise you wouldn't have any fun. But anything more than a week, if you let go, because again, most people here work with software or, yeah? How many people are working with software? Geez, most of the people in the room, right? Software never slips 3 months at a time. I can say it because I don't write software. But always it seems to be that it slipped another quarter. It never, people don't say, oh, but it slips 1 day at a time, right? And maybe a few hours at a time, whatever it is, right? So don't take your eye off the ball, right? And the surefire test is someone is not prepared to pay for it, you probably don't need it. Right? That to me is the truth test, right? So this is very, very, very important. Okay. Finally, I think this was mentioned at the very beginning. Look, we're not building products. We're not building services. We're building businesses, right? And that business necessarily involves there's someone with a need or a pain that you're fulfilling, and they value it by parting with cash. Keep that in mind and question everything that you're doing in the light of this. Right? And it's very, very easy to forget this. It's very easy to forget this. Okay? The other important thing is you must both emotionally, most importantly, emotionally be prepared and be clear that you are running the business. Right? The fact that I put in money or someone else put in money or your uncle lent you money, they are not running the business. So be very, very clear to separate these two. This also means raising money is not an end in your business. So you can feel good about it for maybe 4 hours. When you have a drink and dinner, that's it. And then you get back to building your business, right? And everybody's going to give advice. Everybody's going to go, starting with me, right? So make sure that you're the guy running the business. So you don't have to take everybody's advice. You get to make the decisions. Because good or bad, nobody's going to say, oh, VC screwed up that business. You screwed up that business. Okay, it's very, very important. The other thing, it's very easy to lose sight of, depending on where you are in the life cycle is, nearly most things in the world you cannot control. So don't get head about it. Why someone else raised money, why you didn't get this deal, why this didn't ship, you'll be surprised. And the more, especially if you are the founder, or you're the CEO, you'll find out nearly nothing you control. So focus on what you control. Okay, first accept that's all you control, and then focus on it. Okay? And if you are not having fun, you should immediately quit. Because I think we lose sight of this fact, right? Because there's no such thing as, next year or year after that. I'm not talking taking vacation, I'm not talking about taking a break, I'm not talking about taking a salary. None of that you're going to have for a while. But that doesn't stop you from having fun. And if you aren't having fun, you're doing something wrong. So that's very, very important, okay? So final thought I want to leave with you is, if you thought, losing weight is hard, raising kids is even harder, okay? So that way building a business relatively should be easier. So focus on that and have fun. Questions?
We'll take questions now.
You don't have to ask questions.
You mentioned briefly about having a board of advisors. How critical is it for startups or new businesses to have a senior board of advisors or a board of directors?
Okay. Everyone heard the question? Yeah, you could hear it back there. I believe it's very important. It need not be senior. It could even be a peer. Culturally, I find if it's someone senior, we tend to take it seriously. Your wife could give just as good advice or better advice maybe, but you may blow her off, right? So I think it's important because for two reasons. One, at least even in initial days as an angel, for example, someone who's put money in the business, people may be in a polite phase, but subsequently at the other side you may feel, hey, this guy's got money in my business, that's why he's saying this. So you need someone who doesn't have their cash in your business, but who's more importantly going to say, hey, that just doesn't make sense. What you just said doesn't make sense. Or, wait a second, last Friday you said this, now you're saying this. Or it happens, an hour ago you said this and this is what you're saying now. So I think it's very, very important because, see, this whole startup business is full of contradictions. That is, item one is, you got to fervently believe against everybody else saying that is the most dumbest thing that I ever heard. So on one hand, you got to be pig-headed. On the other hand, when someone else says, wait a second, you better stop and take a look at this, you take them seriously enough. You may still continue, but you stop and pause. So I think it's very, very important, right? In our current startup itself, right, 3 people experienced, worked together, made money, quote unquote. The worst thing about being successful is there's only one way to go from there on downhill, right? So you need someone else to say, hey, what the hell are you guys doing? Or this doesn't add up. Or alternately, they may say, why don't you talk to so-and-so, right? Sometimes it's just that. And especially, let's say if you're a 2-person business, it's useful, how do I bring it up with my partner? Is he or she going to misunderstand this? So I think it's very, very critical. It needs to be someone you trust. It need not be a friend. If they're older, hopefully they're wiser. I mean, again, as I'm finding out, age alone doesn't make you wise. But we tend to listen more if you feel that they bring something to the party.
Thanks. Any other questions?
You mentioned a point like we always have to be focused on external points. Like, does it mean we'll have to be more focused on what users want or how customers are, basically customer oriented, or is it something else apart from that? Like, can you give some more examples?
Okay. So basically I'm saying 2 things. One is, see, and especially depending on the nature of products we sell, let's say we sell something for children. I'll give an example, right? But the children are not necessarily going to buy. They may recommend, their parents may buy, mothers may buy. So that whole buying process, there's one part of it. The other is they're already crowded by a whole bunch of things happening in the marketplace. So when I say focus externally, I'm saying fundamentally whose need or pain are we serving is the first place to focus. And more importantly, what are they prepared to pay for? So when we went and asked people, people are prepared to subscribe and give a lot of details about themselves for a question and answer service. But if I say pay me 100 rupees a month for answering so many questions, they're not prepared to do it. So I can be externally focused, but if I'm still not focused on it being a business, I can lose sight of that. That's one. Second is when we make decisions internally. So you need not leave the building sometimes. You already know it and you're trying to make a decision. Should we put in this feature or not? Should we hire this guy or not? Should we get our own salesperson or should we do Google AdWords? Each of these questions we shouldn't answer because I don't have money now or it worked for my cousin in Hyderabad or whatever it is. It should really be saying, how is it advancing me as a business? And is the customer going to perceive a difference? So that's really what I'm talking about. Okay. Did that answer your question?
Good morning, sir. I loved your talk. I run a startup with some of my co-founders here. It's been about a year, and since we're more sticking to Web 2.0, I just want to ask a question where we use a lot of open source technologies. And if a common question that I get from not just investors or people that I want to rope into the board is that if, for example, a Facebook or a Google got hold of your requirements, they would take not more than a day to develop what you've done, which of course for us has taken us about a year. So what kind of an answer do you think would be good, not just for them, but for our own selves? Is what would be a fairly good answer for that?
Right. So like good startup guy, he put 3 questions in there. I'll try to feed all 3, right? So first is I worked for many years in enterprise and use open source. Again, I haven't touched a keyboard except to write emails and PowerPoint. But the point is, and in enterprise people also have a concern that everything from IP, say like, hey, can someone else produce it? But the reality is, I think the track record for open source is there and is proven, and I'm a strong proponent of it, so you absolutely should do it. The larger question I face all the time, both in conventional business as well as this business, right? First of all, you should pause and silently look at the person who asked the question first. Right? You need not call them an idiot, but I think it's worthwhile looking at them, right? Because almost there is no real original idea. Anything you conceive, somebody can definitely do it in far shorter time and faster. And in fact, they are an idiot because somebody's already done it. Only you and they don't know it. Okay? That's purely the gut reaction, if you will, right? But I think it's a relevant question in that, look, is this is like building I think every student who goes through final year has to build some student database or some such thing, right? So the thing is, where you don't need to reinvent, you should not reinvent. As a startup, you can ill afford not to reinvent. And in fact, most of these big firms, they would take twice as long to do. So in theory, yes, they can do it. I give you first. But convincing some other joker that they should do it, that guy will probably end up quitting that company, coming out and starting it if he needs to ship this product. Okay? So I think, again, just like I didn't say this, I should have said this. Just like you wonder how did they raise funds, I don't think you should wonder whether they got this feature. Because guaranteed someone not only got this feature, somebody's shipping a product. I mean, just yesterday I was looking at project management. SaaS-based project management, there are like 23 project management tools just in Google Marketplace. Right? So I think really the focus is on what do customers want? And even if other people are doing it, what is the gap that I'm going to fulfill? Right? So I think the best answer I have found, at least to a third party, is not to answer that question. Okay? But for yourself, try to keep honest. Is there a real problem? Right? Basecamp exists, Deskaway exists, whatever else exists. But that is not to say you still can't go build a tool exactly in that same space, as long as you feel you're fulfilling a need. And there's a set of customers who are prepared to pay for it. And find out if that's the truth. I mean, then ideally I take it on paper and sell it to them first. Get a couple of POs first before I write code, if that's what you feel. So,
We'll take one last question. I'll take him.
Hi, Nirav here. We just spoke in the morning. So you mentioned first the question was how many people below 30? And I'm above 30. And one thing that I realize is that you don't get a lot of these insights, so you don't really understand the importance of what you're saying unless you fail, right? So without failing, you wouldn't really understand what is the importance of focusing on cash or focusing on customers. And it's very difficult for young folks. I'm not discarding myself as young, but still. So what would be one thing, that they can keep in front of their eyes, which will always remind them, because, I'm a little bit on their side, your side, and I'm like, I see all these guys building great products, but I don't really see them succeeding. And if they had that focus, so what could be one thing that they could do to keep themselves focused?
Okay, excellent question. This is the reason my partners asked the question, and I guess now I have an answer for them, because I didn't give them a good answer then. Assume you're never going to raise money, and you're going to hire people, and you want to pay yourself a salary. If you're doing something towards that every day, that's sufficient, right? I can give you, again, all of us being smart people can give you 10 reasons why that's the bad thing to do. Because are you constraining growth? Are you not putting enough money investing in whatever? Worry about that shit next year, okay? If you're not dead. So I think the key thing to focus, all of us, at least what I see with a lot, again, I am biased. I am 48 now. I still think I'm very young. More importantly, I'm a father of 2 teenagers, okay? So you realize, see, the reason I ask the age is, you hit the nail on the head. I think till 40, you don't even realize everything everyone else told you was actually true, and you should listen to them. And you just aren't going to. So nothing I said you're going to listen to. But we'll still try it, which is, I think this is practicable. Assume you're not going to raise money. Assume you're going to continue to pay salary even to yourself. Then figure out how the hell you're going to make money. Nothing concentrates your mind like that. Then after that, if you feel you need to raise money and do stuff, do it, right? So which means that is where, so don't add that feature, don't add that code. Make that call in the morning, visit guys, whatever it is, you need to do that will advance your business. I think that to me, that is a very good working method. Because I think, again, other people can speak to this in this room, raising money takes time. Raising money is a full-time job. Raising money is the beginning, not the end, unfortunately, right? So that would be my advice. Focus on generating profits, if you want to put it that way. And hopefully if you have profits, you can pay yourself, you can pay your staff, right? Until such time, don't add another feature. Don't ship another product. Focus on what you have to make it happen. I think, yeah, I'll be thrown out of the stage here, but we'll talk at the...
So maybe you could take it offline. We will get delayed otherwise. So thank you, Sri. Thanks a lot.